big hello to all the viewers. Welcome again to the dLife In channel. And I'm Shashikant Iyengar, the host today. I am a dLife In member as well as a volunteer. And for those watching this program, this is not a medical or nutrition advice. And people are requested to take the guidance of their doctor and a low carb nutritionist for any change. Also, there are no financials attached to this session. All are free of cost to disseminate genuine information. So dLife In is a community platform for low carbing. It's a platform for those who are suffering from diabetes, obesity, PCOS, as well as other metabolic syndrome. dLife has over 250 success stories, and they have more than 1,200 low carb dishes, which are specifically tailor-made for India. And dLife In was also founded by none other than Anub Singh, who's an engineer from IIT. So friends, today we have with us a special guest. He's Anub Singh, the founder of dLife. And I have the pleasure of introducing and interacting with Anub Singh today. Now, the special day again today is because Anub Singh has completed 11 years of pill-free diabetes journey on 14th February, specifically this month. And being an engineer, he always thinks on the root cause effect. And right from the beginning, he has refused to take any antidiabetic. He has not even taken a single tablet of metformin. And in his search for a solution, a cure for diabetes, he came across what is called as LCHF, low carbohydrate, high fat diet. He started reading about it. He started following it. And then to this day, he is just following it in a very strict and disciplined manner. So let us hear everything from Anub Singh himself. So Anup, please tell us something about your 11 years pill-free journey, 11 years pill-free type 2 diabetes journey.
Yeah, Shashi, as you said, 14th of Feb 2011, that was the date when I was diagnosed. And honestly speaking, I did not know anything about diabetes at all, what it is and what are the complications that accompanied with passage of time. But I would say, some of my friends, they told me that if you don't take this seriously, then you are going to end up in a big mess down the line. Now, from February to May, that was the time when, I was looking for everything from Karela juice to neem patti and all those things. And it never worked, honestly. Now, somewhere around April, mid or end of April, I landed on a Western low carb forum. Now, that was, the diet followed there is what we call beef, bacon, and egg, which is not even possible for a non-vegetarian Indian. So ultimately, the crux was that I have to reduce carbohydrate, and that has to be limited to 20%. That was the starting point. अब होता क्या है कि इंडियन जो डाइटरी चॉइसेस हैं उसमें it is more of a very high carb. I would not even say high carb, it is very high carb, 70 to 80%. And traditionally वो दाल चावल रोटी सब्जी and some addition to it. So basically protein is low, fat is low, and it is primarily carbohydrate. So पहले तो चालू किया था, I think it was 1 or 2 chapati a day. That was the first step that I took. But ultimately even that did not work. But yes, उस समय क्या था कि I was doing almost anything that was possible, anything and everything. That included cutting down carbohydrate and indulging in mindless walking. 4 kilometers after every meal. That was around 10 to 12 kilometers a day. और रिजल्ट उसका ये हुआ कि मई में I landed a A1C of 5.0. Now I thought I mastered everything, and I got careless, and November it shot up to 6.0. So from that day onwards, I really took it seriously. And the highest that I've hit after that was, I think, in March 2020 That was just after COVID. It was 5.7. And last year, I think December, I had done a test. That time it was 5.4. So short में ये है 20% carbohydrate, and logically if you reduce carbohydrate you have to increase fat, and we have been talking of 20-20-60. That is 20 max is carbohydrate, 60 minimum is fat, and 20 roundabout is protein. That was how we started. उसके बाद जैसे जैसे सीखा वैसे वैसे it's on tweaking daily and managing. That's all.
Yeah, I think this is what if we go to international sites, and that is what we keep reading, that it's a meat heavy diet, and they have more of bacon, beef and all, which may not be possible in India because of a different dietary pattern. In fact, we classify as vegetarians and non-vegetarians, and in this country even non-vegetarians, they take non-veg food only maybe twice a week or thrice a week.
Maximum
on an average.
Yeah, I'm a non-vegetarian, but I don't like, I cannot take chicken for more than 2 days a week.
So essentially, if we really go to see, we are all primarily vegetarian country, even though many people may eat meat, but that is only maybe occasionally. Yeah. So I think that's where the difference comes, that we need to little tweak it to our context. No doubt the foundation of the low carb diet is from the West, in the sense that if you date back to even 200 years prior, when John Rollo treated few cases of diabetes with a meat heavy diet, meat fish eggs diet, but then taking cue from it, somehow that is how we need to do. And I think that's what you managed to do. Somehow tailor made it to Indian context. And then we have seen that it's been very, very successful. I think primarily the goal is to have a low carbohydrate diet. And when you say 20%, okay, so I think let me translate that to viewers. Essentially, it means carbohydrate anywhere between, let us say, 30 grams a day to 100, 120, possibly. LCHF is low carbohydrate, high fat. So possibly around 100 grams a day. And then rest would be fat, because if you lower carbohydrate, which is a form of energy, then obviously we need to have a source of energy, and fat becomes energy. So instead of sourcing glucose as energy, we source fat as energy, and then taking adequate protein. Now,
Rajagopalan, it was May of 2011.
So one more, though I said that, you never took medicine. So what is your view, and have you ever taken medication for this? So when I say medication, it also means allopathic, it also means Ayurveda. So have you ever taken any form of medication for controlling your blood sugar?
Ayurveda, the general belief of that Karela juice and Karela and all that, but that was for a very short time. And yes, down the line, I think I was inspired by your sub 5.0 numbers. So I thought of taking metformin. I got a strip, took it for 3 days and threw the balance. So that is the history of medications taken. And supplements, yes. Supplements, I'm pretty irregular, but I do take. And, as far as low carb and Western diet, primarily Western low carb is primarily keto. And when Indians, they try to rehash that Western diet, they fail miserably, because doing 30 grams per day carb, it requires, determination that you have. Not many can do it. You can do it, Arun Kumar can do it, I cannot do it. Despite all my best efforts, I've tried thrice and I've failed. So I thought, let's not try. Maybe when time comes, when blood sugar control becomes impossible, even with low carb, that is the time I'll try keto. But why Indian operations or Indian, solo or team, they fail is because all of them, they rehash Western concept and they aim for keto directly. Whereas in our case, keto and low carb are two different domains.
Yeah. And Anup, if I really expand on what you said, we really don't understand. Many of us here do not really understand what is low carb and what is keto. because I have seen that people recommending something like jaggery, which is said to be low carb or keto. So a lot of funny things happens here. So people have actually very, very less now, except a few who really understand what it is. Secondly, yes, maybe we require a differential treatment in the sense that depending upon the metabolic damage, someone will do very well with 30 grams a day or 50 grams a day, while some can go up to 100 and 120 grams a day also perfectly fine. So I think that the difference depends upon the metabolic disturbance we have, and also our goal. If our goal is just low carb and blood sugar control, fine. But in case we have some associated disorders which requires an increased level of ketones, but I think that is where the ketogenic right role comes into play. And we have seen many cases also that even whether people are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, people are able to do keto provided they persist and provided I think they have a need for it. I think that's how it is. So Anup Singh, what is your view on the current way that diabetes is treated, not only in India, all over the world? What do you think? What is your view on this?
Counterproductive.
Okay.
It
How,
is
how come?
counterproductive because primarily, if you look at the general statements or general conclusion, all of them are aiming for increasing insulin secretion. That is the first attempt. Okay? Or even if you look at Ayurveda papers or something, they all say कि insulin secretion बढ़ जाता है. But that is not the way to deal with it. The exact way to deal with diabetes or any metabolic syndrome related complications is just the reverse. And just the reverse means you control your insulin more than you control your blood sugar. I'm talking of type 2 diabetics primarily because type 1 is a different beast. Wahan pe you cannot survive without insulin. So let us not talk about type 1. But type 2 generally, in general, we now that is maybe around, jab se I think you came in and others came in, we have started focusing mainly on insulin. Fasting insulin, PP insulin. Once you get that into the range that we talk of as being normal, then automatically everything, starts improving. वो 5 से 25 वाला lab का range is criminally wide. And as we always say, we aim for 6 max. मेरा जो है, I think twice I had tested. It was around 8.5 to 8.7. दो numbers test किए थे 2 बार. So yes, I'm a bit higher than the ideal case, but yes, I'm okay with it. As long as, A1C is fine. I'm not chasing any numbers. 5.6 max is what I target. Luckily, I've been 5.4, 5.6 in between that range. So treatment, it is wrong because they are not focusing on the biggie, as Ivor Cummins says. Baki sab is irrelevant.
So I think to expand on what what Anub Singh said, the two crowds, see, everyone sees only one crucial factor, that is what is seen in the usual lab report, that is blood sugar. There's something which is never measured, that is the insulin level. So what happens is in diabetes, it is not only blood sugar level, but it is also in type 2 diabetes, it's also what is called as hyperinsulinemia or elevated insulin level, which also needs to be addressed, because as we go into low carb, we see that the insulin comes down, which shows that the insulin resistance has come down. Whereas in the usual treatment, they just suppress the symptom. What happens? They just lower the blood sugar. Where does the blood sugar go? So we need to think, where does the blood sugar go? It is being pushed inside your cell. So what happens in low carb is we don't allow the blood sugar to rise itself from the fundamental. The root cause is diabetics, type 2 diabetes cannot handle carbohydrates, or we are carbohydrate intolerant. So what we do is lower down the carbohydrate to tolerant level, which could be anywhere between 30 grams to 100, 120 grams, depending upon the cases. So we are looking at one aspect is not to load your system with glucose or complex glucose. I also call carbohydrate as complex glucose. Ultimately, it will go down and break into glucose. The other factor is to take care of hyperinsulinemia, which is an indicator of insulin resistance or poor utilization of insulin. So what happens is we address both. We load with lead glucose, and then ultimately after some time, it also leads to a lower insulin requirement, lower insulin level, and ultimately even insulin resistance is taken care of. So we actually focus on dual thing, and hence the common saying that diabetes is a chronic progressive disease. Let me tell you, it is not a chronic progressive disease if you are in a low carb diet. And I think in Anub Singh's cases, Anub Singh, yes, you can say.
Yeah, I had mentioned in that Outlook interview, it is a progressive disease because you are given a gold medal on A1C of 7.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So maintaining that higher A1C, yes, it will be progressive always. And second point was, this complex carb nonsense. Now, as a layman, what I say is to process same amount of digestible carbs, you will need same amount of insulin. Only thing that nature of carb may impact is the excursion. So if you are taking 60% complex carb or if you are taking 60% pure glucose, your requirement of insulin will be same. If you are processing all the carbs. So complex carb is utter nonsense. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. So Anup, please tell us about your recognition. I think a couple of years back you were awarded something for being a pioneer in low carb. So can you just give us more information on that?
Yeah, that was a in Hindi. It was a session recorded in Hindi by the digital platform of Outlook magazine, and they covered the article also in the print English and Hindi of, I think it was in April 19, 2021. So post that, it was, that Icons of India award they give in different fields. So it was in recognition of this, that's all. But yes, it was a big thing because it was Outlook magazine. Though it did not get us any benefit as such, because जो return होता है, that was not something very astronomical कि हाँ Outlook में आया तो people started flocking. The traffic
nevertheless, it's a recognition one.
Yes.
And then it's a good thing that mainstream has recognized that low carb is an option for diabetics.
Oh yes, recently ABP News on that World Diabetes Day, they took out a short excerpt from that interview and they were running whole night.
Yeah.
On World Diabetes Day, ABP News, I think it was.
See, Anup, what I see is like all these things take time. The first thing is people have recognized you being a pioneer. People have recognized low carb as an option, especially during this World Diabetes Day again, which has happened. And I think slowly that's how the awareness comes. I think I always say that we should be given an option. See, in today's context, if I take 30 years back, we just had a couple of drugs which are available, or 3 drugs. It was metformin, it was sulfonylurea class of drug, and it was insulin. Later on, if you see today, we have a host of drugs available. Add to it DPP4, SGLT2 inhibitor, GLP-1 analogs. So there are a lot of other drugs available to control diabetes. But nevertheless, I think the first option which should be given to everyone is to follow a low carb diet. I think this is very, very, very important that we should be given an option. And for those who want to do this option, they can do. Otherwise, we always have a lot of medication which they want to follow. So if I'm not mistaken, this is right behind you, that photograph, which is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the award one. Fine. So please tell us about, how did you go about launching dLife in forum? What was your purpose? And
see, I never had any idea of what to do when we booked the domain. Now, this domain I think was registered in 2012, January of 2012. And I was thinking, I was trying to figure out what to do with this domain. Then that Western forum basically gave us an idea. Yes, it has to be a forum to begin with. And 2013, I think, January 2013. You were also there, Arun. I mean, many of us were there on that Angrezi forum, operated out of UK, where we used to land in all sorts of trouble because we were talking low carb to an Indian crowd who were more roti, dal, chawal addicts. So they never accepted it. And ultimately, it was a case where we were booted out, basically. So that, motivated me to start something similar, if not better. And all I would say is, yes, thanks to them that we have reached a stage where we have outgrown them in size. So this is how we started. We launched the forum in August, I think, August 2014. And 2018, we started adding content, adding features to it because we switched to paid model. 2014 to 2018, we were running free. That did not work out well. So we switched to paid, and after that, we started adding many features. There are many custom features added, which, we can proudly say that no other community in the world has everything under one roof that we offer.
Yeah, I think the amount of feature which is there, there is no Indian site which is available, and especially the Indian recipes which are there, tailor-made. So whether it is low carb, keto, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, I think that's again a very big boon. So I think people who really join, they do really benefit, and I think this most of the dishes are something which is made by us. In fact, many of us, all the volunteers, have actually contributed to the dishes, to the recipe forum.
I think more than 90% would be member contributed recipes.
Yeah, so the best part is it is tried, tested, and with the macros and all, and then no wonder it speaks of the success also. If you have more than 250 success stories, plus a lot of other successes which we have in our own life. Many of us have in our own life guided a few people which may not be in the forum, so that really magnifies it to 2 or 3 times essentially. And if you see the recent report of IDF 2021 November, they just portray a very grim picture of India. In fact, the current estimated diabetics are around 74 million, with an estimation of 125 million by 2023. So, what is your view on this?
See, if you go by fasting insulin, I think this number would be 3 or 4 times. 240 to 300 million ho jayega wo by whatever date you mentioned, because they are going by the current standard of FBS and PPBS, right? Now we have seen, almost 90% or 99% of them who come with elevated FBS or blood glucose, their fasting insulin, I think minimum is 13. And it goes up to as high as 25, 30, that is depending on the case. But none of them have come with a low insulin level. So if we go by fasting insulin, then I think the numbers would be just 2 or 3 times.
So let me expand on what Anub Singh said. First of all, as per the IDF report, this is a grim picture where there are approximately 75 millions who are actually diabetics in India. They also classify pre-diabetics as a different category. So they have more pre-diabetics. They also classify undiagnosed diabetics as someone. Okay. Now, among these, there is something called as people with hyperinsulinemia, where the blood glucose remains normal, where the fasting PP and even HbA1c are all appearing to be very, very normal. But however, if you measure insulin, you will see that there is a significant spike of insulin fasting as well as post-meal insulin. So this is where we catch them early. But however, these things are very, very difficult in practical life. People do not do this. But we see these levels, especially if some people come in with, let us say, obesity, they come with PCOS, they come with hypertension or blood pressure. We do see elevated fasting insulin. And once people go on low carb, we see a significant progress in terms of reduction of weight, elimination of PCOS, and even elimination of meds for blood pressure. In fact, we have a case in dLife where a person who can be classified as a pre-diabetic with HbA1c of 5.7, but with a significant elevated fasting insulin of around 25 and postprandial insulin of more than 100. So on following a low carb ketogenic diet, the person could eliminate all the medication and get all the insulin level also under controllable levels. So so this is a different aspect which is not at all focused. And if we really measure fasting insulin, if we measure postprandial insulin, we can actually catch many of the diabetics possibly 10, 15, or even 20 years ahead when they are diagnosed to be a diabetic. So Anub Singh, again, we can just touch upon what do you think is something wrong with the current dietary pattern in India? Is there any simple solution to this? What is happening in India? What do you think?
They don't focus on protein. The national average would be around 30 grams, I think.
Yeah, 30
now
grams.
30 grams is bare. I think, yeah, if it is 30 and we need, even if we go by the bare minimum, that RDA recommendation, it should be 0.8.
Yeah.
Now, the unfortunate part is there are certain celebrity, so-called dietitians who find everything in Vada Pav in Maharashtra. And when the lady visits in Indore, where I am, she, bats for poha and jalebi. So protein, she finds everything in dal chawal. And that is, customary Indian meal where dal and chawal is always there. And they think they can get around 70 to 80 grams of protein, which is needed per day. They can never get it. So एक तो ये है, दूसरा जो है जो हार्ट हेल्दी ऑयल है ना बाजार में, जितने शाइनी ऑयल्स which are sold in all these malls, they are toxic. Now add to that a high carb diet. It is it's really, you cannot imagine anything worse than that as far as taking care of health is concerned. Now basically vegetable seed oils, PUFA N6 PUFA loaded oils are toxic. Protein is low, carbohydrate is high, fat may, I think even fat is not that high. Primarily it is 70% carbohydrate चलता है, 10% होगा शायद मुश्किल से प्रोटीन, और बाकी जो भी फैट वेट है. एंड उसके ऊपर जो है इंडियन जो मीठा खाने का शौक है बहुत सबको, सो वो एक और दिक्कत है. And last is, I think, if we talk of recently, that Eat Lancet crap. That Eat Lancet crap, I think, is coming through FSSAI or some other body in India, where उनका वही है कि everybody should become vegetarian because there is a lot of global warming happening. Now, Indian per capita animal protein consumption is barely 4 kg. अब वो 4 kg को भी आप कितना करोगे? 0 कर दोगे? नहीं होगा. I mean, this is the problem, that Western 140 kg. Now they are benchmarking based on that, and then they're trying to apply the same rule globally. So ये दिक्कत है. And yes, corporate money talks. They can bribe everyone. And it is easy to, basically when a person is made to listen to what they want to hear, they accept it very gladly. Like that, that vegan crook, that diabetic should eat 1 kg mango early morning daily. So now who would not like to eat mangoes 1 kg? वही है जो लोग सुनना चाहते हैं ना, वो अगर कोई बोलेगा तो people will accept it gladly. और जो हम आप बोलेंगे which is the truth, वो तभी सुनेंगे जब पूंछ में आग लग जाएगी and they feel the heat. Till the time they hit a wall, they will never listen to us.
And I think we Indians are actually sitting ducks for many of this vegan brigade, as well as the multinational corporations who are out to push monocropping, out to push pesticides, and out to put GMO seeds. So I think they do have a particular agenda. In fact, they also recommend protein, as they say that we can make do with even 15 gram of protein or 30 gram, which is abject, totally idiotic. And we can see the result in India with the push in ultra processed food, with the push in seed oils, with the push in refined carbohydrate, refined foods. We can see diabetes is just exploding, and we are just behind China. And probably by 2025, which is just 2-3 years ahead, we are going to be probably one of the most diabetic nation across any of the country in the world. Yeah, you want to say something?
I don't know if I can recall the numbers correctly, but I think 80% of global growth in cardiovascular episodes or disease is coming from countries which are carb dependent. Basically, third world.
Yeah. That is true. In fact, because diabetes is something which affects all the organs from head to toe. So we are actually we are sitting ducks for cardiovascular disease. We are sitting ducks for renal failure, for peripheral neuropathies, stroke, and even for the matter cancer. And then shortly now, even mental disease are increasing. Maybe dementia, maybe neurological problem like Alzheimer's. Everything is rapidly increasing in India. Plus, not to talk about bone and joint disorder. The rising incidences of osteopenia, osteoporosis is also tremendously high, and where it is contributed by poor nutritional choices like low protein, high carb, and dysregulated blood sugar. In fact, most of the joint disorders like osteoarthritis, where dysregulated blood sugar is very, very strongly implicated. And I think these are the factors which needs to be considered. And I think low carb is one way out, and low carb is one option which we can actually have.
You can say it is the only way out.
Yeah.
Let us not try to be politically correct. It is only way out, because there is no other thing which can get your insulin down.
That is true. So not only insulin, Anup, I will say that get your blood sugar down first, which is getting down the root cause, and then addressing one more factor, that is insulin. So getting down both is very, very important for us. So anything you want to tell, Anup, before you open for question and answer?
That's all. That's all. Only thing is we have grown, as a platform, we have grown. We've added courses to the platform.
Okay, what exactly is it? What courses you're talking about?
Low Carb Nutrition Diploma. That is what we started with in, I think, 2020, April or May.
Okay.
Then last year we added 2 more certificate courses. And diploma course is basically not one of those NSDC certificate courses. It is a full-fledged certificate awarded by NAAC accredited autonomous institute. So it has got legal tenability in India. I cannot talk of whether it is tenable outside, but we are not focusing outside India. So basically, more people, more qualified, experienced people are there in the field, better are the chances of, more and more people switching to low carb. So that was the idea with which it was launched.
Fine. Thank you, Anup. And now I'm opening up for question and answer. So people, if they want, they can just ask, because I have enabled unmute. I have unmuted. I mean, if people want, they can unmute, and they can speak also. So LCHF has positive impact on thyroid. Yes, Mr. Bhishma, yes, it does have, because metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, everything is involved in hypothyroidism. So definitely this is resolved. In fact, even associated condition like PCOS also can be resolved with this. Absolutely, 100%. And regarding your query on insulin, yes, the lab ranges from anywhere, let us say from 1 to 25, but the 25 is atrociously high. In fact, during my diagnosis of diabetes back in 2015, my fasting insulin was some 9.25 or something, whereas currently, whenever I do tests, it is around 2 and 2.5. This is possible with a low carb diet. So we say that, as per the experts, the actual insulin level should be below 6. Up to about 6 to 8 is perfectly okay, depending upon various individual, maybe depending upon body size also. And postprandial insulin, we ideally like to have somewhere between 30 to 50. Anything spiking upwards will spell some issue, some health issue in the coming future. And if you're able to catch early, yes, we are able to do well. Yeah, so Jasmeet has mentioned one client is having 5.4 HbA1c in fasting instead of 19. So Jasmeet, this client of yours, what is the health issue for which he or she came? Jasmeet, you want to share? Fine. So anyone has a question, they can ask. They can unmute themselves. Yeah. So
yes,
I just
actually the client I mentioned is she has PCOS and her
PCOS,
HbA1c, yes, her HbA1c is around 5.4, and I mentioned fasting insulin is 19. So this is the highest one I have seen in my clients. She is obese.
Yeah. But I think even if they go to any gynecologist, they also measure insulin level. So this is the best part about knowing this. But now, however, the solution they give is they will put on metformin and all. They will stop simple sugar. That's all. But primarily,
she was on 500 milligram of metformin with inositol, but I started with 1500 milligram because she's severely insulin resistant.
Yeah, this question from Bhishma. Siddha medicine. See, what has happened is, this Siddha medicine, Ayurvedic medicine and all, with LCHF, they have to be taken. Whereas in LCHF, what we recommend is you don't require medication. But this depends. Some people may need medication depending upon their insulin releasing capacity. What if someone has been diabetic for 2 decades, 3 decades? There's a possibility that less insulin is secreted. So hence, they might require, but most of us do not require even metformin. Whereas in Ayurveda, it is very clearly mentioned.
Let me add, Shashi, yeah, please carry on.
See, in Ayurveda, it is very clearly mentioned that Madhumeha is only controllable and not curable. If you ask any brilliant, well-studied Ayurvedic practitioner, they will tell you it is not curable. It can only be controlled. That is one. The second factor which I have to say is, many of the modern Ayurvedic or herbal preparation, they may be prepared by some unscrupulous people who may have not taken care of the purity and all. We don't know. It could be contaminated with a lot of heavy metals. And then I don't want to risk my kidney exposing them to heavy metals. So unless you really know a practitioner who takes care of doing it properly, I will not take any risk. Yeah, Anup.
Yeah, regarding this question of no medicines, LCHF. Well, I'm one case for 11 years. And if you recall, the recent case on forum, screen name is Koti. He had joined with, I think, 2 mg of glimepiride,
metformin.
Right? And 130 FBS and I think 120 ppbs. Now, within 2 weeks, he's off glimepiride. He's only on metformin. And numbers are down by average 20 points. For him to get back to almost, a stage where he can get off even 500 mg metformin, it will be a 10-month journey because his weight is, I think, 93. Now, if that comes down to 70, which is around 10 months journey, so he may get off even metformin also. So, ये आपके जो question tha. And as far as Siddha, I don't count all these things as any solution. Siddha, Ayurveda, because the moment they talk, take this, it will increase your insulin secretion. You can be very sure they are talking nonsense. So as Shashi said, पहला तो आप अपना liver बचाइए, है ना? और liver और kidney बैठेगी अगर ये कुछ भी, some get rich quick operation, they start selling some concoction. Because Ayurveda as such as it is not regulated market. ठीक है, तो उसमें वो कुछ भी पैक करके natural के नाम पे they can sell you even something which in long term might damage either liver or kidney. वो आपका कौन सा है वो Garcinia
Cambogia.
Very famous weight loss supplement sold by Himalaya, sold by Ramdev. In fact, Ramdev sells everything, but it is shown to impact liver, na?
Yeah, there was a case study where it has impacted
Yeah.
liver, but we
Be very
don't
careful.
know. Yeah,
Be
we
very
don't know
careful.
what will happen. I mean, we are
Yeah.
taking a risk. Everything depends upon the amount which is there, whether it is in small quantity, big quantity. We don't know what is the lethal dose, what is the LD, we don't know. So that we need to be careful. The one more question is, some people have T2D but not heavy weight or high weight. I agree. Indians are basically, we are called as stophy, thin outside and fat inside. We are basically lean people, and our capacity to store fat is very, very less. So what happens is excess carbohydrate which we take is converted into fat and stored in the body. So once we cross the threshold, then actually we become diabetic. So this is a concept which not many people know. So we are lean people, we become diabetics very easily. Now, let me tell you, to add to this, we are a very peculiar kind of people because of our low body weight, low protein diet, low muscle mass. We become diabetics very easily on consuming excess energy, excess carbohydrate, and even excess bad fat immediately. And some of us may be insulin deficient and insulin resistant, but most of us are insulin resistant, but many of us can be both. So that's why we need to measure both and then optimally recommend the diet. And that's why I said that some people may require medication in case there is a deficiency of insulin. But then that is how it is. We Indians are like this, and we are a very strange group, and we need to be a little more careful. Yeah, my BRO is 76
76
kg.
for 178 is fine. 10 HbA, A1C.
Very high.
Yeah,
LCHF,
very high. It's not high, it's dangerously high.
Yeah.
And LCHF focuses on weight. Well, LCHF does not focus on weight. And the primary goal of LCHF, or first result that we obtain, is getting the insulin level down. Once that comes down, your weight loss will automatically happen.
It has, I mean, weight loss is something which we always say for diabetics, it's sort of additional benefit. Your blood sugar comes down from the first meal. I can assure you, from the first meal, your blood sugar will come down. So that's how it is for most people. Can we take stevia daily or occasionally? I have been taking stevia for the last 6 years daily. Absolutely no issue. Yeah, Anub Singh, you want to say something?
Yeah, what was the... Yeah, on weight, yeah. You know, my personal experience, my weight initially when I was diagnosed was 83. Now, for quite a number of years, I was around 75, 76. But my FBS always used to be 105, 110. Got it down to 72. Moment I touched 70, that is, for a height of 5'8", my FBS never shoots above 100. So the advantage of weight loss, especially when you're struggling with controlling FBS, losing the last, getting to the last mile advantage, yes, weight loss will always help.
So Bhishma, fasting insulin we test, and then we will know the level, and then we put it in a calculator where we measure, where we put in fasting blood glucose and fasting insulin. Like if you go to the website blood code, bloodcode.com, and there is a insulin resistance calculator. If you put in, it will show. So anything about 2, we say that it is, they say that it is insulin resistance. So that's how it is. In case you're staying in South, then Orbito Asia Labs, they specifically measure, and they also measure, and they tell you whether you are insulin resistant also. So that's how it is. Uric acid level of 6.4. How do we reduce with LCHF in 4 months? See, uric acid is a part of metabolic syndrome. Blood sugar goes up. So that's how it is. So if you address with a low carb diet, uric acid also comes down. We have seen this in many of the cases.
And don't take any healthy fruits. Because that is one thing.
Yeah, excess intake of fruit, excess intake of sugar sweetened beverages like Coke, they lead to high uric acid. It is not this high protein which is commonly told by many. Absolutely.
Take a lot of water, take heavy dose of vitamin C. That's all.
And if you want, you take some lemon juice twice a day, half a lemon twice a day. That will resolve uric acid to a very good extent. But nevertheless, please understand the basic biochemical mechanism goes that if there's an elevated blood sugar level, it is going to cause hyperuricemia. And it is one of the poorly understood phenomenon which is happening. Excess uric acid is actually seen. There's a strong insulin resistance which is leading to all this. I think we need to take care. Yeah, any more questions?
Sir, I was having Bhavan here. Hello.
Pawan bolo. Apna Bhavan bolo.
Yeah, so I was going to ask the same question, whether this protein, the byproduct is uric, but you answered it. So that I was also having it. So that is being, clarified. So one other thing was that you know my case. It was 353, the postprandial, and the fasting was 246 with 8.4. I did multiple tests. This is in the month of October. So 16th October was the first report, and then consequently in 10 days I have done 3 reports where it was, from 353 to 385 to 383, and I have consulted you and multiple times, and we have been, now the result has, it is below 150 pp and a range of 95 to 110 for the fasting. So, and I told you that, I'll be monitoring this for 3 months and then I'll do the full test. So this 3 months will get over in March. So I'll do the entire thing. The only question of mine is the insulin, which came fasting as 6.3 and PP insulin was 24.6. So what should be, see, like we said that, from 353 PP, it has come down in a range of 150. So in case of insulin, fasting and PP, what do you think should be, we looking for, or what should be our goal? Have you understood my question, sir?
Yeah. Okay, you're asking Anub Singh or you're asking me? If you're asking me,
Sir,
I can answer.
I just read
Anub
this,
Singh can also answer.
Yeah, brother's case of 10 plus. Brother's case of 10 plus A1C. See, how soon can you get to 5.6? Well, it will depend on a lot many things, especially how.
Wait. I think there are two questions confused. Anub Singh, that question is something which is punched in the chat box. So Bhavan was telling, Bhavan was telling a different case. So Bhavan, what essentially means is, in your case, it was a twin case of nearing insulin deficiency and very high insulin resistance both, because it appears that you were already insulin resistant earlier and pre-diabetic earlier, and with the COVID infection, many people, the blood sugars are shot up. So because COVID also goes and damages the pancreas, because the AC receptors are also there, the pathway from which they enter. So, but then with a low carb diet, you are putting less load on the system, and then you will be able to recover well. Now, what you should look forward to essentially is from, what was your HbA1c again?
HbA1c was 8.4.
Now, after 3 months, even if you come anywhere near 6 or 7, it's a big success for you, let me tell you. And your PP ideally below 140, and fasting for this stage, at least I will say anywhere between 100 120. If it is there, it is perfectly all right. We can accept that. Fasting will take a lot of time to come down.
Sir, fasting, see, I have been measuring this almost, say, every 3 days. I mean, maybe I do it regularly, daily also, but it take an average almost once in 3 days. The highest I got was 200. I think that can be the PP I got 200. That was the only case. Otherwise, it is always 140 to 150. And the fasting is sometimes 90, sometimes 95. The highest was 110. So what I feel, it's through it's not the lab, it's the machine which I have. I mean, check perform.
Okay.
So, I mean, the result can be little bit 4-5 units here and there. The only thing was I can correlate what you said, that if we get it to 6 or below 6, it will be fine. Otherwise, 6 is also okay. But I didn't understand how to correlate that with the insulin fasting and PP insulin. So I don't know whether.
What happens is, when you do this test in March, you do all fasting, PP and all. We do insulin, even insulin level, and then we will just correlate and see how it is.
Okay.
And as of now, don't worry. for some person who has just taken it, just a couple of months back. So I will say that from what we follow, the standard we follow in dLife, from 8, even if you come to 6.5, it's a big success, and which you're doing without any medication. You have to understand this limitation also.
See, numerically 1% A1C will be around 28 points drop of blood sugar average. So if you go by, if you're tracking by your meter, and let's say last month it was average was 140. Now, if it came down to 112, that means you can expect your A1C down by 1% compared to last month.
Okay.
And basically first month's contribution to impact on A1C is roughly around 45 to 47%. Then second and third month is balance 50%. So that way you can always check, कि अगर आपका एक महीने में 28 एवरेज डाउन आया है, तो 50% of that is 14. That means half a point your A1C is down.
Okay, so from 8.4, it can be 7.4 or maybe.
Yeah,
It can be less than 7 also.
Yeah.
We will see.
We
I
will
think
see.
anything 1.5% down is actually excellent.
And
Shashi, may I ask something?
Yeah.
Sarun, what I suggest that if your fasting is very, very low, as you are telling 90 to 105, and then PP goes above 140, 150, that clearly indicates you have to work with your food. You have to find out how much carbohydrate you are taking, because if fasting is low, it is in the range. So it should be come down to 120 as your PP. But if it goes beyond that, that means you have to work on your food, your meal.
so, sir, my only thing is this is after the diet I took from November and December. When I did the test on 16th, I'll tell you the date, 16th October, the fasting was 246, PP was 353. So it was.
No, that's okay. That I heard just before you told me. That's okay. But right now, if your fasting is well controlled, even many of the other people is difficult to control the fasting within 2 to 3 months. But your fasting is well controlled. But if your PP is going way high, that clearly indicates that your carbohydrate tolerance is low. So if you are taking more carbohydrate, your PP will go high. So if you reduce your carbohydrate, it's a very simple thing. Your PP will come down. So have you calculated how much carbohydrate you are taking per day?
I have not calculated that, but I am taking minimum what Sashi sir told me. Minimum range around 80 to 100 gram of protein. That's what with anyhow. Carbs I have reduced for the first 45 days. I reduced it. The only source of carbs was the vegetables, but no roti, no rice for almost 45 days. And roti also I took it for almond this one, so as suggested. So now slowly, sometimes during our work and all, sometimes there is we take it. So I take one roti and then a whole of a salad and take a paneer and all. So I don't know how much carbs I take. I take it at the minimum. Okay, so I have not.
You just calculate the carb. It is essential when you are doing low carb or keto diet. You must take care of your carb intake. If it should be, as Sasri told you, protein is okay, and fat, of course, you can take 60, 70, 80, 100, 150, no problem. But if your carb is not controlled, PP will go high. That's the main thing which you have to work on.
Arun, he knows. He will do it slowly. He is a little lenient. He knows everything.
No, he's asking his PP is high. Fasting is low.
I know him well, so
very good.
Bhavan, you said you take occasionally you take one chapati. One chapati, Indian chapati weighs around 40 grams. So one chapati alone is around 22 grams of carb.
It's but that's okay. He knows everything, but then he's doing his best to come down. It's okay. You take your time. Don't worry.
Shashi, tell him to calculate the carb.
ठीक है,
even the
वो
vegetables,
मुश्किल
even
है,
the vegetables, curd,
ठीक है,
paneer, whatever he is
उतना
taking,
स्ट्रिक्ट करना
he should
मुश्किल है
just
यार,
cultivate
वो
it.
करेगा, वो करेगा, let him,
ठीक है.
he knows
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
So there's a question here, knowing about kidney function, microalbuminuria 54. See, 54 is a little higher. Okay, so it is below, it should be below 30. In fact, my cousin, he could reduce from 100 to just 5 within a month of very strict ketogenic diet. So for Akila Ganeshan, yes, it will come down with LCHF, but you need to be consistent with this. Please remember that you need to be very consistent because you're prone to renal dysfunction. In case you don't follow, tomorrow you will be landing up with from microalbuminuria to macroalbuminuria and then slow progress to kidney dysfunction. So you better be very careful.
Yeah,
Because I
54
think
is high. What is
think-
his total protein?
who's that? That this is Akila Ganeshan's question, but I don't know what the total protein.
He has to test the total protein, and then he has to
Okay,
take it again after 1 month.
So Akila, you need to
Sometimes
just
some other we can
do
also
that. Yeah, ठीक है.
even go high.
Groundnut sesame oil or high carb? Just asking, has no idea, but regular usage at home.
No. Answer is no for both these oils.
See, you're if Bhishma, you're from which part of India? I am very curious to know. Can you just type out from Chennai? So just go ahead and use coconut oil. I think coconut oil is available, and I think we need to little get used to making coconut oil. If you use just 1 teaspoon oil in your vegetable, absolutely there is no taste when you finish cooking. Let me tell you. So we have shifted from whatever oil we were using to unrefined virgin coconut oil. You need to just shift to this. If you are in North, then I'll think a couple of times before.
Sir, I am North Indian.
He's using coconut oil.
He's
He's a prolific user of coconut oil.
2012.
He's a prolific user. So you need to shift to coconut oil.
Coconut oil, when you are cooking, there is some smell, but when you are taking the
Finish,
food,
yeah.
there is no smell.
There is no smell. So see, even Arun Kumar is using. He is also from North.
Yeah. Far away from South.
So people, if they want, they will go for it. Absolutely, there is no issue. I think you should
don't go for anything except coconut oil, ghee, and
butter.
that too not that 450 rupees kilo wala ghee. That is all junk, and butter. इसके तीन के अलावा no cooking medium.
No, it is not because they are high carb. It is because they are seed oils. Please understand, none of the oils are high carb. All oils are zero carb. But the issue is, these seed oils are known to cause insulin resistance independently because they contain a lot of omega-3 fatty acid. Whereas coconut oil does contain very minute amount of omega-3. It contains mostly saturated fat. Issue is they are not high carb. Issue is oils are known to cause insulin resistance to a very high degree. That is why we want to get off them. I hope these are very now clear. So they are not carb oil. Even soybean is zero carbohydrate oil. Soybean oil, zero carb. But if it is known to cause insulin resistance to a very big extent, so we need to get off all this refined oils.
There is a Chinese study where ladies working in a restaurant, the Chinese study of lung cancer, because they were exposed to a lot of fumes from these so-called healthy oils. PUFA N6 PUFA loaded vegetable seed oils are toxic.
They cause insulin resistance. Do you understand, Bhishma? These oils, they cause insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, your Tamil, they cause. I can tell you in Tamil also. Adale insulin resistance ago. So that will lead to diabetes, that will lead to insulin resistance. In fact, I personally believe that one of the main cause of diabetes in India is the usage of this high refined oils, plus the refined carb. That is why it's exploding. Yeah, I think we are through with the questions.
So we can end.
Sashi, I have a question for Anup.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Actually, many of the times I'm thinking that back in 2011, when he was diagnosed as a diabetes, why not he go along with the mass? I mean, everybody when get diagnosed with the diabetes, Doctors are prescribing medicine and they start taking medicine. That is
Sir,
how the 90% people are doing. Why not here?
सर क्या है ना, एक तो आप समझ लो मैं थोड़ा उल्टी खोपड़ी का हूँ, ठीक है, दूसरा इंजीनियर हूँ, तो इतनी जल्दी जो है ना जो भेड़ चाल चलते हैं उस पर थोड़ा टाइम लगता है मेरे को, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दवा लेने में, जैसे मैंने वो आउटलुक के इंटरव्यू में भी बोला था, दवा लेने में दिक्कत कोई नहीं है, प्रोवाइडेड इफ इट्स स्टिकिंग टू वन मेडिसिन वुड हैव अलाउड मी टू लिव लाइफ लॉन्ग। प्रॉब्लम इज मेटफॉर्मिन से चालू होगा, फिर वो सल्फोनिलूरिया आएगा, फिर DPP-4 आएगा, फिर मतलब वो ड्रग पे ड्रग आएगा डायबिटीज का, उसका हाइपरटेंशन, कोलेस्ट्रॉल एंड वेट विल कीप ऑन गोइंग अप।
करेक्ट।
इसीलिए ये medication route is counterproductive because of this reason also, because you cannot expect to control weight by going on those medicines. Clear cut example अभी कोटी का है, वो ग्लिमेपेराइड पे चल रहा था and he weighs 93 kg.
I think 10 years hoga, 10 years matlab minimum you would have been on 2 drugs by now, 2 anti-diabetic drugs. I mean,
by now you must have 2 to 3 drugs.
2 drugs.
And you must get the address of the dialysis unit, because after 10-15 years you have to go to dialysis unit also. That is the way it is going.
Dialysis.
But why I am asking this question? Why am I asking this? You are also blessed with this one more thing, which you and Sasi and many other people are blessed, that you are get diagnosed diabetes when every information is available on the internet or on books and everywhere. And
oh yes,
that's the blessing of God to you and to Sasi also. Sasi to
yes
more
sir,
to
yes
Sasi.
sir, yes sir, I agree.
God diagnosed the diabetes, so every
Yeah.
information is there.
Right, because 2000 के पहले तो इंटरनेट इंडिया में इतना था भी नहीं। 2000 में 2010-11 में भी आई थिंक चार्जेस वर प्रीटी हाई,
वेरी हाई,
या पर मिनट और पर आवर के चलता था
वो टेलीफोन के साथ कनेक्शन करके चलता था।
yes
the current trend is to prescribe metformin and DPP-4 or SGLT2 depending upon the doctors, and as per the ADA, if someone follows the guideline, then if you're above 40 they will add a metformin, and there are many who use aspirin also plus 1 vitamin, so minimum you will pop in 4 to 5 tablets and
one statin.
Statin with aspirin, that's what I'm telling. They're depending,
and the statin both.
Yeah. And in some cases, I have seen prescriptions or even why clopidogrel is added. I really don't know. I have seen even triple combination without any cardiac issue. There was absolutely no cardiac evaluation done, and the patient is taking a couple of antidiabetics with atorvastatin, clopidogrel, and aspirin. I don't know what is the indication why they are given this. Absolutely.
See, my Indo long back told me that if you are above 40, aspirin is must and atorvastatin is must.
That is as per the guideline. Yes, as per the guidelines.
As per the guidelines, they are telling.
But I don't know why clopidogrel was given. That is one case which I've seen.
I don't
absolutely.
know. I have not seen, but these 2 drugs are must. And for God's sake, I have just stopped. Even after 1 month, I stopped both aspirin as well as atorvastatin.
Yeah. Plus the impending doom of having some microvascular complication or later on macrovascular. So most of the people, they have what is called as neuropathy, and then they suffer this burning, tingling sensation in the legs and hand, and they do whatever they want. I don't know what they do, and yeah, so that's how it is. So I think we will end this now. So Anup, thank you very much for taking a time out and in coming for this session. And I think you are a great source of inspiration for all of us, because you are one person in India who has followed low carb for the last 7 years, and then you are into the 12th year without any medication. And not only this, but your learnings is being translated into helping others through dLife forum. And many of us, like me or Arun Kumar, we could greatly benefit from your initiative, because when everything I learned is actually essentially from you on low carb, high fat diet, and this is how many people are actually benefiting it. So thank you very much, and looking forward to again interviewing you again on next year on the 12th year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.